Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back. My name is Momo and I'm an illustrator, and today I'm working on doing a Y2K futuristic fashion men's catalog. Now, I've already done one. I previously did a Y2K retrofuturism catalog, but like women's catalog, and I heavily based it on Delia's, which I have a video for that. You can find that. I'll link it somewhere here. But essentially, I really wanted to do a follow-up for that zine, and I kind of landed on doing a men's catalog version of the same idea. So in the original video, I was kind of walking us through doing the, making of a zine, like this process of zine making with that video. And this one, I guess, is more, I kind of wanted to focus more on the actual art of everything, the design process, how I was thinking, what I was looking at, how I tried to like pull my references together to make something new. So that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on, the illustrating part of making that zine. The first part of a process like this, I would say, is probably gathering your references. So I had two different types of things that I was looking at. I was looking at different catalogs, and I was also looking at the fashion, like the era that I was going for a retrofuturistic style. Let's talk about the fashion for a little bit. This one's a little tricky because I realized that a lot of men's fashion today actually pulled heavily from this era, and a lot of the fashion choices that I was seeing, I feel like they weren't that out there as far as what the fashion would look like today and what the fashion looked like in the 2000s. I feel like any person who went to a rave in the 2000s, not that I did, I was too young, but anybody who went to a rave in the 2000s, that's kind of the look. So to avoid kind of making things that look too familiar, I started pushing towards the direction of like more mech suits, like kind of going for more incorporating tech into the outfits, a little bit more uniform, like, you know, I don't know how to explain myself. Hold on. Let me think about this. Definitely I started leaning more into the idea of like tech suits and Under Armour, and like looking at a little bit at Star Wars, especially with like designs like this one. It was going a little bit more of a Star Wars, what they were wearing on the, like what the Empire is wearing kind of thing, which, ooh, I don't want to be evil or nothing, but you know, I was trying to figure out from sci-fi movies more than necessarily fashion towards the end, trying to incorporate a little bit more of that into the look, so it looked a little bit different from how we normally dress. Does that make sense? I hope it made sense. I think it did. We're gonna move on. With any costume design project, because that's basically what this is a costume design exercise, I guess. With any costume design project, you kind of have to think of who the character is that's wearing this, and what are we saying about the world that they live in. This one is less character based because this is a catalog and it's meant to be for every person, but it is, in order to make this a reality, I have to think about what is the world that I imagine that's using these fashion choices. So I was going for a universe that's kind of, I guess, like in Star Trek, how we're all like borderless and open and free and everyone's at peace and yee, you know, all one with the universe kind of thing. I imagine this world where open travel in space exists, and it's fairly common to hop from planet to planet. And what kind of clothes would you need to travel within space? What does that look like, and how do you make it trendy? That's kind of the questions that were bouncing around in my mind. So a lot of the outfits in this, when I do all my descriptions and when I think about what they are, they speak to like, they're good for space jumping, they're good for portaling, they're good for, you know, things like that. So some of the tech that's incorporated into the outfits, they have like a lot of beep boop buttons and like tubing, and some of them are supposed to be more durable for like really extreme temperature climates, because I'm imagining that you're around star systems and things like that. They're good for being in outer space versus just being on the planet of Earth, you know, or possibly 4 different planets. There's a lot of like thinking about, oh, what would you wear in a planet that's like just for skateboarding or good for skateboarding? If I was a skateboarder and I wanted to go to X planet because they have the best, I don't know, I don't skateboard, but they have the best inclines and so on for you to do that, what does that look like for you? So this does bring me to another point, which is the catalog reference. For the women's version of this scene, I was definitely looking specifically at Delia's. So the posing and staging is a lot more carefree and fun and playing around with unconventional posing, and definitely felt a lot more like girly. The reference points that I used for the men's catalog, and therefore the poses and so on that I'm using, were more from like skate brand catalogs and American Eagle, stuff like that. So the staging does, I think, feel a lot less fun than the girly ones. Not that these aren't fun, but these are definitely based around like cute boys standing versus teen girls being like, I do what I want. It also, I think, lent itself to a lot more of the clothing choices that I created feeling a lot more athletic than the previous catalogs. I definitely think it influenced me a lot more to put more things that felt like, for instance, there's a whole spread in here that's like based around a hover skater, you know. There's nothing like that in the Delia's based catalog, and that definitely has to do with the reference points that I chose. Like, it just felt natural to, oh yeah, what if I threw someone in there with a little skateboard? So that was interesting. I think in this version of the catalog, I have a lot more, I would say, standard posing for catalog type things. The Delia's one, if you were to compare and contrast, the Delia's one definitely takes advantage of like in your face poses and weird crops. And I think with this, I even have like a whole full spread of just a lineup of people, which I don't have in the previous version. But I do think it made for an interesting contrast. And even though they're very different pose-wise, I really wanted to make sure they still felt cohesive, and I tried to do that with the colors more than anything. So color for this, for me, was really big. I think the most important thing was I wanted it to be bright and poppy, because the idea behind this was it's supposed to be representative of this idealistic future in which, I don't know, we are, okay, walk with me a little bit. Walk with me here. I believe that a lot of our visions of the future in recent years have been very depressing, which ultimately might be because right now we're not happy. We're not in a good place, let's say. But in a lot of our science fiction and a lot of our versions of the future, once upon a time, it was very idealistic, it was very bright, it was very fun, and we were having a lot more hopeful representations of what the future would look like, and that really showed itself in the clothing choices that we would see in movies and books and so on. And so this was kind of born from the idea of romanticizing that future again. I wanted us to have this idealistic version of the future where it's normal to have a clothing catalog and it's normal for it to be bright and fun and not very drab and gray and militaristic, as a lot of the, you know, the elements of costume design have become in futuristic fashion. No, in no small part due to the dystopian movies of the 2010s, but even then, the ones that did it best, shout out to Hunger Games, still kind of played on this idea of like there is a fun version of the future, but it's for the richer folk versus, you know, storytelling. Well, let me not get lost in the sauce here. I'm gonna ramble. Point is, I wanted it to feel fun and bright and idealistic. So I really went for pastels and candy colors and really bright, colorful vibes. And I wanted that to not feel disconnected from the women's catalog when I did the men's one. I think a lot of time with men's fashion, we tend to go a little bit more drab, and I didn't want to do that with this. So a lot of the color scheme, like the color schemes picked, I purposely was going for bright and mixing really bold colors with each other and not being afraid of pastels either. So that's kind of the thought process there. Normally I would be doing like these huge color studies, but honestly there are about 7 illustrations total in this thing. I didn't want to do color studies for all those. So a lot of the colors, and you can see it in the video, I am basically changing them on the fly. This one in particular, I like the red, blue, white scenario, and you can see I kind of changed everything to be that turquoisey blue. It felt a little too flag colors, name any flag in the world. It felt like, you know, too much, and I wanted to bring in turquoise, so I still got to keep that color scheme, but it felt a lot more fun. So things like that I will be changing on the fly, and even some of my line art gets changed on the fly. This guy's face in particular, when I did the original lines, I didn't like it. So as I'm figuring out color, I went back in and touched up how his hair looked, how I did his mouth a little bit, stuff like that, because he is our cover star. He's our cover boy. I couldn't have him not be cute. You know what I mean? He's the face that's gonna get you to buy the catalog. I couldn't mess that up. And I was kind of going for, actually for all the boys, I was kind of going for this 90s, early 2000s cute boy look, because we are referencing that era in fashion. So I really wanted them to look like the heartthrobs of those eras, but like translated into this futuristic space. I also realized when coloring everything that high key everyone in here is pretty much wearing something that felt very fall. So that's kind of why I went with this blue-green color scheme for the front specifically, because it felt a little, not that these colors are necessarily fall, but they do feel a little bit more autumn than summer to me. And the previous version of this is a solidly summer catalog, so I thought it'd be fun to do. This is the September edition, and then the first one's like the July edition. I thought that was fun. I don't know, I really enjoyed this color scheme so much. I also think I like this cover more than the original cover. I think the original cover has too much going on, I'm not gonna lie to you. After doing this one, I kind of wanted to go back and redo the first, and low-key I might, because I'm crazy, but we'll see. We shall see. And to finish everything off, I do take this into Photoshop / Illustrator at the end. I do all my text in Illustrator, and then I lay everything out actually to print on Photoshop. I don't know, it's easier for me. And I ended up doing all like the typography stuff, which isn't that complicated for this one, but I did these all in Photoshop. One little side note, I make a lot of references to basically the things that I was gathering inspiration from within the text of the catalog. So in this one, there's a lot of references to Dune and Star Trek and Star Wars, versus the previous one is more Xenon and Phil of the Future, which I find really funny how they represented the things that I was referencing. As I had an idea, I was looking at one of my little example ones, and high key, what if, why did they make that gray? Oop, 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 oop. High key, I kind of want to do a situation like this. Now visually it's gonna be different. It's gonna be a little visually different from the women's edition. We're gonna get rid of the little dot. She's no longer needed. However, oh, why did you do that? I'm kind of into it. And I think a little difference didn't hurt nobody. Also, I'm into the size of this. Yeah. Oh, can you guys see that at all? Let's get in there. Instead of it being just the loose letter, what if I put it in this little circle? How cute. How cute. Okay, we're gonna go with it. We're gonna everything is now fitting this. Sorry. And with that, we've come to the end of the video. I'm just gonna give you guys a quick flip through of everything so you get an idea of how it looks in print and on screen. One thing I must say is I'm very proud of myself for that double spread. Getting that to line up, not an easy feat, so shout out to me. Yeah, that's all, folks. If you like this video, don't forget to like this video and do all the YouTube things down below. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know when there's a new video, which is pretty much every other Saturday here on this channel. But until then, drink your water, draw something cool, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!